to go and to do our testing and so forth, which is really important in early development stage. I'm going to put the hood in the service position. If you do that, there's a release pin on the side here. You need to push in on the button. Once you have it pushed in, you can stand the hood up and get a little more room. Before I go in the engine bay, let me just point out at the nose of this car, we really don't have a lot of room to back up and look, but under each headlamp, you'll see there's supporting cooling radiators, not only for the intercooling, but also for engine oil cooling and for our low temp cooling circuit, if you will. Now down low, we have an oil cooler that sits horizontally. So, Chin Guard, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Sitting down low here, please be careful when you're pulling into parking lots, what have you. If you have the car in Sport Plus mode, right, you know you already are lowering the ride height. So, but you can pick it back up on its tippy toes, but this car is equipped obviously with a 360 camera. So when you pull up in those parking areas, you know how you have the red reference line? If you look at the central display, you'll see there's a red line to give you, hey, this is my end point. Okay, so be mindful of that. Now, up above the opening, you have obviously a redesigned grille. Yes, it's a twin lamellar grille that proudly states AMG, but this is functional as well because it's all about ram air being deflected up into this area. So what makes this so important is obviously air going into the engine, but also air being forced over the hot V design. Now, as I said earlier in the training, we have a carbon fiber engine cover which is available. Here's the standard one. Okay? So every seal matters in the front of this. So when this hood is closed, this kiss point, not only here, but also around the elliptical bulkhead, we're about capitalizing on ram air. Just a little note, we started with the GT, right? This little flap system, so that when I'm traveling down the road, the airflow goes through, over the top of the hot V design, and then it deflects out of the back of the engine down underneath the car. This flap is important so that when I'm in stop and go traffic and the suction fans run 100%, I'm not pulling the hot air back upstream, if you will, creating a convection type. So that's important for us. Now, a few components. Our main systems battery is under this cover. There's the fresh air inlets here as well. Also, this is the primary jump point, negative and positive. So this is where you're going to jump the car off. But please keep in mind, now Larry, you may know this, what happens when I go to Paris for 6 weeks when I leave my E63 in the parking garage or at home in the garage?
The battery's going to be dead if you don't put it on a trickle charger, or if you don't, there's a storage mode to set on.
That's right. There's a standby mode for all the new E-classes. So if you'll go into the command system and select standby, and I'll be happy to show you that. When you select that, when you lock the car, we're simply taking the main power relay, opening it up, and simply only powering up, say, central locking. So when you come back from your trip, you just unlock the car, and there's no battery draw, if you will. Does that make sense? And that's not just AMG, that's on the E-classes. So I can show you that. Just component call out here, expansion tank for the engine coolant. We have another expansion tank right under here for the intercoolers, which are down here at the face of the engine. We have a dedicated cooling line. This is the motor electronic processor. This is the cooling line to extract that heat off that processor through the low temp cooling circuit, which is really good, which is important. Now, you'll notice this is the oil field. Notice what I'm missing here. Signature plate. This is an early development car, so this one doesn't have one. But you can see the twin scroll turbos here. You can see your supply lines. This is an oil supply line. This is a coolant line, because we have to continue to cool and lubricate the turbos. Now, when we shut the car off, you will have this car run its suction fan and an auxiliary coolant pump, which is an additional sound, which is normal. Okay? Now, on to the side, speaking of sounds, these are 2 purge valves. So we're looking at this like 2 4-cylinder engines. So these are little, that if you're out with the hood open with the client that's running, you may hear a little
Okay.
That's the purge valves doing their job. And what they do is they're pulling vacuum on the charcoal canister that's at the rear of the car. So when we fuel the car, that collects the hydrocarbons or the outgassing of the fuel tank. So we ingest them, and that's been going on for many years.
Yes.
But that's just
Yes.
how we do it. So anyway, notice there's no dipstick. There's no dipstick here. So now we're having to go to the instrument cluster, and I'll show you how to do that as well. But you just simply go to service in the instrument cluster, scroll all the way down, and you ask it to check the engine oil. And you can do this while you're driving as well.
Oh.
So it's really kind of cool. But you may see where it says, it's unavailable right now. It could be a couple of things. One, maybe I'm not up at operating temperature. And two, maybe it's not happy with the level of the car, or the parameters haven't been met. I'll just say that. Okay? Yes, sir.
The trickle charger will actually keep both batteries charged up, right?